Hi, my name is Theo and this is my story. Growing up, I grew up in a Christian home. I have 2 sisters. My parents have been married 45 years. We had a typical routine. We'd go to church on Wednesdays and on Sundays, and my mom was really good about making sure we always had dinner by 6 and we would sit around the table as a family. It wasn't until I was older that I realized what I thought was a typical family home is very different than from what a lot of people grow up with. I was baptized as a baby. I went through confirmation in middle school, but it wasn't until I went to church camp during high school that my relationship with Christ changed from just a routine to a relationship. When you grow up in church, sometimes you develop a routine, but you don't really develop a relationship with Christ. I think part of that is cultural, and we breed this discontentment in our lives right now, and it's so frustrating because we always want to point to different things in life, but we don't want to sit down and take accountability for our part. I joined the military at 18 and went off to the Army, and I met my husband in advanced individual training where we learn our job, and our first duty station was in Germany. He said he was a Christian when we got married, but the evidence of that started to show that it wasn't a heart relationship, it was just something that he said. When we had Darian, it was important to me that we would raise our kids in church, and so I started attending church. And it was during this season of life that I started to really see a change in my relationship, but I also started to notice some things that was going on with my husband at the time. I realized that he was having an affair, and I made the decision to forgive him for that affair, and we would work on our relationship. But I realized I harbored a lot of bitterness during that season. We worked on it for a few more years, and Nick was born. And I'd like to say that everything was great and wonderful, but it just didn't work out that way, and I ended up filing for divorce. It was also during that season that I just really began to cling to God, and it went from just a routine relationship to a love relationship. I'd love to say that everything's been good since then, that I would served in church, which I did. I was on the worship ministry team. I've served in the women's ministry. I've served in children's ministry. I work with the youth. And I love all of those different areas, but it didn't make life perfect. There were all these struggles and things that I dealt with as well. I was dealing with teenagers that were rebellious themselves. There were issues that we started to have, and it was definitely a rocky, difficult season. And I continued to fall daily. But it was also during that season that I realized that I truly hadn't given up control to God. I was willing to change certain parts of my life, but I wasn't willing to give up that total control. So during about 7 years ago, I guess it was 8 years ago, it was during a women's Bible study that I just really gave God control of all areas of my life. And it was during that time where I met Matt, and he is a Christian, and we do go to church together regularly. And it was during that season that I just was able to let go of all of those other things and just truly focus on my relationship with Christ first, and then my husband, and then my children. And I'd like to say it stayed easy there, but it didn't. The boys were getting into the middle school ages, into the high school ages, and my oldest son really started to rebel. And we struggled through that process of dealing with him, dealing with drugs, running away from home, and just really being away. And it was such a hard season of life. But it's during those times that Christ truly carries you. I'm not anyone significant. I'm a mother, I'm a mom, and I'm a child. But most importantly, I'm a child of the one true King. My name is Theo, and this is my story. Blah, blah, blah.
That was good.
Okay. I need some water.